1st of March 2023, Uganda's parliament passed a law making it a crime to identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer. Noting that this bill goes beyond merely outlawing same-sex relationships and marriages, it will be the first law to outlaw merely identifying as LGBTQI. Ugandan LGBTQI persons already face legal discrimination and mob violence. The bill comes into conflict with Uganda's own constitutional provisions stipulating equality and non-discrimination for all, and further contravenes the country's international legal obligations on human rights and political commitments. This extremely draconian law seeks to do the following amongst others. Individuals or institutions, including healthcare workers and human rights defenders, which support or fund LGBT rights activists or organizations, will also face prosecution and imprisonment. Media groups, journalists and publishers face prosecution and imprisonment for publishing, broadcasting or distributing any content that advocates for gay rights or promotes homosexuality. The death penalty for what is described as aggravated homosexuality, that is, sexual abuse of a child, a person with a disability or a vulnerable person, or in cases where a victim or homosexual assault is infected with a lifelong illness. This deeply repressive legislation institutionalizes discrimination, hatred and prejudice against LGBTQI people, including those perceived as LGBTQI. According to the advocacy group Sexual Minorities Uganda, in February alone, more than 110 LGBTQI persons in Uganda reported incidents, including arrests, sexual violence, evictions and public undressing. We believe that, number one, this bill is abhorrent and goes against the very fabric of protection, support and respect of human rights. The Democratic Alliance, number two, Democratic Alliance condemns this draconian law that contravenes established international and regional human rights standards. This is an unwarranted assault on the fundamental human rights of Uganda's LGBTQI community. Number three, if President Museveni, who describes homosexuals as deviants, signs this bill into law, it will render lesbian, gay and bisexual people in Uganda criminals simply for existing and for being who they are. Number four, it will strip the LGBTQI community in this country of their whole humanity by criminalising them, ultimately denying them services such as healthcare, education, housing and protection by the police. Number five, this will result in the increased systematic violation of nearly all of their human rights and serve to incite people against each other. We resolve that. Number one, the Democratic Alliance stands in solidarity with the LGBTQI community of Uganda in the struggle for justice and upholding human rights, and we implore the South African government to do the same. Number two, this hate bill promotes hatred and the persecution of LGBTQI persons. Number three, this bill is repugnant and immoral and must be challenged by all means necessary. We cannot allow silence and or inaction from our government. Number four, no one should be attacked, imprisoned or killed simply because of who they are. Therefore, there is no place in society for a bill of this nature, and it should be struck down accordingly. Number five, there is no reason for a bill that criminalizes individuals with consensual same-sex relationships. Number six, the Ugandan government must therefore be harshly condemned for disregarding many of its people's fundamental human rights and dignity at a whim. If this motion is adopted by the House, we demand that the Gauteng Provincial Speaker, Ntombi Mekwe, send a copy of this motion without notice to the Ugandan Speaker of Parliament. I so move.